Greetings and salutations, Flight Sim fans. Captain K-Man coming at you today here with a requested video from a few of my viewers here that they're curious to know exactly how I plan all my flights and how I get those into my simulator. So this will be pretty quick and simple. There's a lot of flight planning software that's available out there, payware and freeware, and I've pretty much used them all. And I'm going to show you which one I settled on in the end, for my X-plane needs anyway. So how do we get a flight? How do we get it planned? How do we get all the paperwork together? Well, that's pretty simple. First off, I need to know where I'm going. And for today's demonstration, we're going to use a request that I had to fly in South America. So that's going to be my next fully loaded. It's going to be a short hour and 10-minute flight coming out of, I'm probably going to butcher this completely, but Trinidad, Piarco? Trinidad, Piarco. It's a Tango Tango Papa Papa. It's down in South America, a little small island off the coast of the mainland. And then I'm heading down to Sierra Yankee Charlie Juliet, Georgetown. That's another airport further southeast down the coastline. So we managed to find some decent freeware scenery for both those airports, and that's what we're going to be using. So for our demonstration today, we'll use those two airports, and here's how we do it. So the first thing is I want to check with my virtual airline that I fly with to see if that's a valid route, because I do like my flights to actually count for something. So that being said, we have Worldwide Virtual. These are the guys that I fly for. Now, I used to fly for Southwest Virtual for a long time, many years, and it's a great place. But for the type of stuff I'm doing now on YouTube, I can't just stay with one airline anymore. I needed a virtual airline that would allow me to fly any airline, any destination, anywhere, for the purposes of my YouTube channel. So we found Worldwide Virtual, and I'm extremely happy with these guys. So as you can see here, I got 19 flights now under my belt with these guys. I just got promoted yesterday to junior officer, and I've become a member of the Silver Club. So yeah, you can see right here, this is a list of airlines that they support here. Quite a few, and the list is growing constantly. I did a flight yesterday just for myself, me alone. We flew out of JFK yesterday, headed down to Miami aboard American Airlines Flight 2351. So that was a fun flight. Very long flight. I was very tired because it was like 2 in the morning for real by the time I landed. Okay, so back to what we were talking about here. We are flying out of Trinidad, Piarco. So what I would do is I would come down here and I would type in TTPP, and then I would go down to arrival, which is SYCJ, and then I would click search flights. And here I can see that Caribbean Airlines are the carrier of choice for this route. At least with Worldwide Virtual, it is the only carrier that actually makes this run here, which is perfect because the person who asked me to do this fully loaded flight wanted me to do it with Caribbean Airlines. So there it is. So next I would just decide what time of day I really want to do it. It doesn't really matter on this virtual airline when you really do it, but I try to stick to the departure times and arrival times and all that stuff that they hand out. So that being said, let's see here. This is all in Greenwich Mean Time. So I don't want to fly at night. So I think I will do Caribbean Air Flight 461. So I'm going to click right here. And that brings up this little pop-up window confirming. So we got Piarco International Airport down to Chetty Yagan. I am terrible with South American names. Please don't sue me. I'd never fly in South America. This is going to be my first ever flight in South America, so I'm going to butcher every single name along the way during that flight. It should be absolutely amusing. So here's our details. Departing 1835, arriving 1945 Greenwich Mean Time, hour and 10 minutes flights, 306 nautical miles. I will book that flight. Flight has been booked. Now that just gets the flight selected. That's the bare minimum right there, so I can actually load it into the ACARS software so that the flight will actually be credited. Now the real fun begins. Now we actually have to plan the flight, get our flight plan, and get it filed into Pilot to ATC. So to do that, I head over to SimBriefer.com. This is my preferred method of doing flight planning. And I've used FS Build, I've used PFPX, Professional Flight Planner. I own them all. And in the end, what I discovered is SimBrief is actually the best to use, at least for me, for what I do. I don't care to be 100% down to the numbers accurate. I'm not flying a real airplane, so I don't need to sit here for 45 minutes trying to calculate fuel flow and top of descent and all that other garbage. I just don't care anymore. I used to when I first started this hobby, but now I'm more focused on flying and less on crunching numbers. So I let SimBrief do all the number crunching for me. It's really good at it. It's fast. It's free. And it's accurate. It uses pretty much the real world flight plans that the real world airlines use. So I'm happy with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the dispatch center here, and I'm going to click dispatch system. I'm already logged in, so we're just going to go down here and create a new flight plan. All right, so this is ready to start taking input from me. So the first thing I need to do is go back over here. That's looks like they use a call sign of BW. So I'm going to come back over here, and my airline is BW. Actually, that's the 2-digit code. Let's go down here real quick and go to blah, 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 blah. We're going to do a search for Caribbean Airlines. And I'm going to go to the wiki. This is how I find out my airlines here. There they are. So their ICO is BWA. So I got what I need there. So now I can come over here, BWA. And we've filed for flight 461. So I'm going to put in 461, and then we're going to put in our airports, TTPP, and SYCJ. And our departure time, again, is 1835, so I'll come down here and put in 1835. Then I need to select the aircraft we're going to be flying. I'm actually going to be flying the Zibo modified default 737-800 with the new Audio XP sound pack. I took that up yesterday, and it's actually quite impressive for a piece of freeware. So we'll just load that sucker in, and then we'll scroll down a little bit, and here is all the different flight plans we have to choose from. And by default, it's going to pick the one that's flown the most often, which is pretty darn simple here. Minda, then a Airway 324 down to TEM. There is no SID or STAR departure or approach for this. So I'll click on Analyze the Route, and voila, we come down here, and there's the route. It's pretty darn straightforward. If I'm not happy with that one, I can always click up here and say Analyze the Route again. And if I don't like that one, I can Analyze the Route again. They're all pretty much the same. They're just straight shots right off Trinidad and straight on down there. So we'll just go with the simple one for now. 307 miles, pretty direct route. So I'm going to be happy with that one. Okay, so that's what I need right there. The next thing I'm going to do, I don't usually mess with this stuff over here, but with SimBrief, you can actually change your flight plan layout here. They have a lot of the major airlines in here. You know, American, Air Canada's here, Air France is here. We got British Airways, Delta, JetBlue, KLM, Qantas, Southwest Airlines, United Emirates. All these are in here. And this is just going to format the way that our actual output looks like when we're done. I just keep it on Southwest Airlines. They have the cleanest, slickest looking one. I am an American, so I do all my calculations in pounds and not kilograms, but you can swap it out if you need to. And I tend to leave all this stuff running. Verify that my AirAx cycle is correct, 1707. It is. I have a paid subscription to Navigraph, and you can link your Navigraph account to your SimBriefer account here and unlock AirAx cycles as they're released by Navigraph. So that's a really nice feature there. So voila, we're done with all that. All I got to do now is click Generate Operational Flight Plan. And it's going to start cranking out numbers here. Give it just a second to finish up what it's doing. And boom, there she is. This is going to be the actual output, and I'll show that here in a second. Now, SimBriefer does output to a lot of major aircraft, so and simulators. So here you can see a list of stuff. I fly on X-Plane, so stuff that would be relevant to me would be JAR designs here, and of course X-Plane. Everything else is pretty much FSX or P3D based. But I don't really download the flight plans. A lot of people do because they just want to plug it in and go, but that's boring to me. I actually like sitting there and pushing numbers and buttons on the FMC, so I never load in a company route. I always type it in by hand. It just makes the experience feel more authentic for me. So, and that's what I'm looking for when I fly, is authenticity. I want to feel like I'm really a pilot whenever I get into my simulator. So I don't care about any of that stuff right now. If you're flying on Pilot's Edge or VATSIM, you can actually pre-file with SimBrief, which is pretty dope. But I don't fly on either one of those services either. I happily fly offline. I don't need to be in a world with a bunch of power-hungry, power-tripping controllers that make me feel like I'm 1 inch tall whenever I do the slightest screw-up. Because apparently somebody on VATSIM and Pilot Edge thinks I'm a professional pilot and should know absolutely 100% of everything. I don't. So I just fly offline. Blah. I'm still getting over this stupid illness. All right. Anyway, we're going to print and view the PDF, the final file here. And y'all have seen me many times on my fully loaded streams show this page, and that's where this page comes from. So here we are, Caribbean Air, Flight 461, departing at 18:35 Zulu time, Greenwich Mean Time. We're going to be in a Boeing 737-800. Here's all the relevant airport information. Here's our flight plan. Yada, 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 yada. So, cool stuff there. Now, this may not apply for this particular airport because South American airports and a lot of European airports don't tend to report what gate a flight is departing from. I like to try to put myself at the proper gates, and that's where the ever-popular FlightAware.com comes in here. I will go up to Flight Tracking, click on Flight Finder, and I will type in the airports that I am departing from. And the one that I'm going to be going to. Search. And I will find the flights. Doesn't really matter here. Let's just grab one that's already taken off previously. And I just want to see if there's any gate information available. And as such, there is no gate information available. So that suggests to me these two airports don't really care about airlines. It's whatever gate or ramp start area is available at the time, that's what they're going to assign you. So that's how I'm going to treat this flight, since they don't have any of that information. But let's just do another quick example. Let's say I was flying for my favorite airline, Southwest Airlines, and I was heading over to, I don't know, New Orleans. Search. I would just click on a flight plan here, and I would snag me a gate here. So when I load up the simulator, I would start the plane at gate 19, and then I would make a note of the arrival gate, which for some reason this aircraft didn't report its arrival gate. Usually they do have the arrival gates here in the US, but oh my God, what if the plane never arrived? What if it was lost somewhere over the swamps of Louisiana and they didn't bother to tell us? Oh, those poor people aboard 1675. Alas. But anyway, there we are. So now we have a flight plan. I've got the fuel that I'm going to need for the flight based upon the aircraft I have and the time and the other settings as far as how much reserve fuel and stuff I wanted. I left it on auto, so it auto-calculates reserve fuel and stuff like that. So they say for this flight I'm going to need 14,900 pounds of fuel, And the reserves for this flight would be, what is that, 6,008. So 7,100 pounds of reserve fuel would be for this particular departure. If we were to use this flight plan today, right now, this is the current METAR data for those airports. Winds are 100 at 14 knots. There's the QNH, which I think south of the border, it's no longer QNH. It becomes the other type of measurement, the 4-digit one instead of the 2-digit decimal reading. And they want us to depart from runway 10 with a flaps 5 departure. The landing winds currently are out of the south at 10 knots. There's the QNH for that area, and they want us to land on runway 24 with a flaps 30 approach. So there you go. I got the basic information I need to plan the flight inside the actual simulator. But I have to get pilot to ATC ready for this flight. So this is the next step in my planning process before I even get the simulation booted up. So we go over to pilot to ATC. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to config. And I need to put in the flight number. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to that wiki and I'm going to see if they have a special name. They do not have a special name. Like British Airways, they're not called British Airways. They're called Speedbird. That's what the ATC calls them. So I will go on to the wiki for the airline if I don't already know it and see if they have a special call sign. Caribbean Airlines does not. They're just Caribbean Airlines. So we'll come over here and I'm going to type in Caribbean Airlines. Or I can just type in Caribbean Air. That might be simpler. And then we put in our flight number, which is 461. 461. Save. Close. New flight plan. Now, there's a disclaimer here with Pilot to ATC. Pilot to ATC works fantastic for everybody except for me when it comes to flight planning. There's a small bug that I have encountered that the creator, Dave of Pilot to ATC, he worked with me for 2 weeks trying to get this bug crushed. We could not figure it out. Nobody else has ever reported it. I'm the only one that has this problem, naturally. So one of the major features of Pilot to ATC I cannot use, and I'll show you what that is here, because it's really annoying. Basically, I can't automatically use Airways. I have to manually type in all the fixes for every single airway every time. Pilot to ATC is designed to actually be rapid and quick to program, but because of this bug that only I'm encountering, I have to do everything manually. So this is how we get things situated and ready to go in Pilot to ATC. I'm going to start putting in the waypoints here using the flight plan that I created with SimBriefer. Our starting airport is TTP. And there it is. Where's that at? That's going to be down right here, I believe. Yep. All right. And then we don't actually have... well, actually we do. I was about to say something incorrect here. Minda is our first flight waypoint. Then we have an airway that terminates in Tim down there. And then we actually have the arrival airport, which is... oh my gosh, SYCJ, boom. So there it is. That's our flight plan. Now there's actually a airway in here, UA324. And what I'm supposed to be able to do is click here on Minda, type in load airway. I want UA324. And I'm going to laugh, by the way, if this doesn't actually bug out. Now that I'm showing people, now watch, it won't actually bug out on me. That terminates at Tim, and I'm supposed to be able to click load. Of course, this one didn't bug out. Normally when I click that, waypoints go all over the planet. Like the entire planet just has waypoints everywhere. But it was successful on this one. Huh. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. I'll just go back over to FlightAware real quick, and I will grab... let's grab a flight finder. Let's go from Dallas Fort Worth International to JFK. We'll go to JFK here. Search for flights. And I'll just grab a random American Airlines flight here. There we go. This one has tons of airways in it. So, DFW, JFK. I'm going to click new here. We're going to start over from scratch. So this should be a gentle departure from here. It arcs up and then goes into New York. All right, that's what it's supposed to do. Now let me show you what actually happens when this bug rears its ugly head. One of the cool things about Pilot to ATC is you got this FP import. You can actually click on that. And this is where you can post your FlightAware plans, because FlightAware, this is how I used to plan all my flights. I used to use FlightAware for everything. I didn't use any planning software whatsoever. I just came into FlightAware. I typed in a destination airport and a departure airport, and I just put in the airline, and I went and got the route that that airline actually used. So Pilot to ATC lets you actually go into FlightAware, and you type in your starting airport. You paste the flight plan that the aircraft was on. You put in the ending, and then you're supposed to click import. Now watch the hilarity that ensues. Voila. So apparently, I'm going to take off from DFW, fly up here, and then go left, and then go back, and then go all the way over to Seattle, and then I'm going to go all the way over here to Australia, and then I'm going to fly all the way across Africa and South America, then bounce back all the way up here to Stent, and then voila, JFK. So, yeah. Once again, it's a bug that only I suffer. Nobody else suffers it. We can't figure it out. I don't know why it does this. So it's got to be something on my end. So I appreciate all of Dave's efforts, but alas, I can't use that feature. So we got to go back and come back in here, and we'll put in our flight plan one more time just to show you again. We're going to take off from Trinidad. We're going to head down to MDA. Let me show you the alternative way that I have to do this. TIM, and then SYCJ. Now, normally, if the load airway thing doesn't work, I go into that flight plan that I made with SimBrief, and I'll actually go to the, let me show you here. I'll come down to the actual flight plan here. Yeah, see that it did malfunction because that's the true waypoint. I don't know what, I can't remember what waypoint it put up there, but it was not Albep. It was not that waypoint. So what I would have to do is I would go and find Minda, which is right here. Back to Pilot AC. Oh, cancel. Oh, it's not going to show you the window. It must be its own little window. There's a little pop-up window here that allows me to insert individual waypoints. I'm going to click Insert After, and then I'm going to type in that waypoint that's missing, and voila, there's our true flight plan. I will then come up here to the cruise level. I will click on that. Another pop-up pops up that you can't see because I'm recording in actual program mode, not window capture mode on that screen. I have 3 monitors here, so that's why that is doing that. This flight plan has us going to 37,000 feet. So I'll punch that in, and then you will notice, boom, 37,000 feet. And there's our top of descent distance, ETA plan distance. My ground speed's going to be 450 knots. And that's pretty much it. I would then click on the validate button. The flight plan is now valid. I would come over here and save it. And then I'm ready to actually boot up the simulator and start zooming all over the universe. And that's it. That's how I do all my flight planning. There's no big secret to it. Some people like to use other programs like SkyVector, which is pretty cool. Let me see here. SkyVector. If you've never looked at SkyVector, it's pretty powerful too in its own right. SkyVector is for the hardcore flight planner that just wants full control over where they're going all over the world. I don't really care about that. I'm not that detailed. So if that's what you want to do, knock yourself out. Me, I just throw myself into SimBrief, and within 2 minutes I got a flight plan ready to plug into my simulator. And we're up and we're off. So that's it. Exciting, right? Woo! All right. Not much else to say. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them down in the comments section below. If you need me to recommend anything for you, software, you pretty much already have what I use, though, and what I like to use. There are other methods. There's no right way to flight plan. There are wrong ways to flight plan, like if you don't put enough gas in your plan, and you suddenly find yourself floating in the ocean because you decided you wanted to fly from the U.S. all the way to China. So there are wrong ways to flight plan, but as far as software goes, it's whatever you want. However realistic you want to get. PFPX obviously is the most realistic one because it's actually used by professional pilots to do flight planning, but it's a little too robust for what I need it for. So I just shelved it and never went back to it. Okay, well that's it. Happy flying, everybody. Go out there, get yourself some good solid flight plans, and have fun soaring through the sky. Until next time, Captain K-Man signing off. Thanks for watching. Bye.